Hello there, this is Nick Roach. Welcome back, or welcome to new people. Today I'd like to say a few words about people who are empathic in these, let's say, difficult times, because some of them are finding it very difficult. As you may know from the word empathic, it means sensitive to other people's feelings, emotional feelings, and when someone near you is upset, angry, frightened, worried, distressed about something, as an empath, depending on how sensitive you are, you're likely to be affected by the feelings of people around you, and you might literally feel what they are feeling. And so I've seen posts on social media about people saying they're empathic, and in these difficult times where everybody is so stressed, emotional, afraid, angry about the goings on, whichever side of it you're on, if you're one of these afraid because the media have told you to be, afraid of a killer worldwide virus pandemic that's spreading across, wiping out millions, it's not. But if you're afraid of that, then as an empath, if you're around these people, it will affect you. On the other hand, if you don't believe a word of it, and you're on the conspiracy side, and I use that word just so we know what we're talking about, I know there's a lot of weight on that word, that's another story, but if you're on the conspiracy side and you believe, I almost said no there, but if you believe it's all complete nonsense, yes, some people are getting ill with something. I know because myself and my wife had it, and her father-in-law had it in February, and lots of people have been very ill who we know with a flu-type virus. I threw the word virus in there. Take that as you will. Whether with flu-like symptoms, over the new year, more than to a greater extent than they've ever had before. We didn't go to the gym or to yoga for several weeks. We just hadn't got the energy. So we understand something is happening to some people, but not what's been and has been portrayed in the media. And if you're one of these people, follow the conspiracy narrative, then you're likely to get possibly quite annoyed and angry about the goings on. And this too, for empathic people, could well affect them. You've got fear one side and anger the other. Sorry, it's quite windy. This time I've tucked the microphone inside, so I'm hoping that will protect us from the wind, even though the branches of this tree are blowing across, so excuse me. We'll see if it works or not. If it doesn't work at all, you'll never know because I'll never put this up. So we'll see, hopefully it'll be all right. So, an empath will feel the feelings, the emotions of people around them. Speaking from my own experience, and I will throw this in so you know I'm speaking from its genuine first-hand experience, I wasn't aware of being empathic until, as a teenager, I remember I was at the cinema watching the first Home Alone movie with Macaulay Culkin, the first time it came out, and there's this church scene where the old man, who he was afraid of until then, walks into the church. And suddenly I felt a pulling feeling inside me. It was really strange, energetic pulling, dragging me down. I looked at my friend, he's all right, looked at the girl next to me, and I saw tears rolling down her face. Okay, that's a bit strange. And the feeling stayed with me for quite a long time. After the film, walking my friend home that night, walking along this long dark road, we were going to hang out at his house for a while, and I told him about the story, about the girl crying, me feeling it, and suddenly a heat shot up my spine. And I said, "John, are you angry?" He didn't reply, but I felt this burning heat, not burning, but this heat go up me. So an hour or so later, we were sitting in his house. We were teenagers, I don't know, 16 years old maybe, because we weren't driving then, there's probably this sort of age. I think his parents may have gone to bed, it may have been quite late. Sitting in the living room watching a movie, television, and again this heat shot up my spine again. Now he was 20 feet away on the other side of the room on another sofa. It was a big living room. I said to him, "John, are you angry again?" And he explained he was. He was thinking about what I'd told him. He'd become angry at the first time because he doesn't believe it's possible and didn't believe that I would tell him such a stupid thing, and now it had happened again. The memory had come out that I told him this and he was angry about it, and now it happened again, and he was shocked and a bit frightened that that happened to me. And then after that it was like just a snowball. I was still going up to college on the underground trains in London, and I'd sit on the crowded train, suddenly would feel really upset. I'd look around the carriage and I'd know it's that lady over there. Not crying, just sitting there, but I could feel the energies from her. Take this as you will, I can only describe my experience. And from then on, I'd be in a room full of lots of people, and suddenly I would feel really sad, whatever, a pulling feeling. I'd look around the room and I'd be able to know who I was feeling. Then, in my 20s, I had a relationship of 9 years with a lady who was extremely emotional, and it was affecting me a lot. The ups and downs. And I lost the ability to differentiate between my own feelings and hers, or indeed anybody else's around me. I would suddenly feel awful, and I wouldn't know, who am I feeling now? Look around the room, it could be me. Are these my feelings? I couldn't tell. However, and this is the point I'm getting to now. I hope you like the little story anyway. When I was 18 years old, I found the teachings of a spiritual master teacher. Some of you will know about all this. If you've been following me for a while, I've written 4 books on this now, who taught that when emotion arises, it literally arises, it is in the unconscious, it is buried there, lying dormant, stored in the unconscious. When emotion rises, it rises to be made conscious, to be addressed consciously. Normally we go into the imagination and we think, worry, remember, daydream about whatever it is that's making us emotional. Not realising, we think that's harmless, doesn't matter, I can think about stuff, what difference does it make? But the emotion, which is unconscious energy, bear with me, you will get it. If it's addressed or not addressed like that, after a while the emotion goes back down into the unconscious, and you might feel better for a while. But the emotion is still there, it hasn't been resolved, it hasn't been addressed. And this is why psychologists, psychotherapists, counsellors say throughout our life, every single hurt and pain and emotional discomfort we've ever had is stored energetically, psychically in the unconscious. And it is. Because every time we get emotional, we go into it with our imagination, and then it goes back down. And that's why you can have the same string of events. Someone says something to you in a certain way, you might get angry about it. It's not about them, it's the trail of stuff goes back to when the first person shouted, barked at you about that thing, and it wasn't your fault, and it was very unjust and unjustified. And ever since then, every time you hear that, it triggers a reaction in you. You may have long since forgotten why it happens, but it does. You just think, oh, that's just the way I am. So the emotion goes down again and comes back up again and again and again in new situations. Now, if you do as I'm suggesting, and I am suggesting it very strongly, when emotion comes up and you feel unhappy, angry, jealous, frightened, worried, whatever negative emotion particularly it is, feel the breathing perhaps first of all, because that just centres the mind and stills the mind, gives it a calming anchor to hold on to, and become aware of the physical body, the sensations in the body. Be aware of the sights and sounds, smells, taste, whatever it is. The point is you're now attached to the physical environment with your attention. And yet you've still got this uncomfortable emotion, the disturbance inside you. And that is the point. You're now experiencing it from a position of being in the moment, in the now. Your attention is fixed on what's happening now, and you're still feeling this emotional disturbance. And that's where you need to be. Experiencing it consciously. You're not unconscious in your imagination, wallowing in it, wallowing in this horrible muck of emotion. You're conscious, holding the space, feeling the disturbance, feeling the emotion, and you're holding it with your attention. And then while you're holding it, while you're aware of your surroundings, but you're holding it, you can look consciously with your intelligence, what is the problem? Not go into the imagination and say, oh, it's so awful. You deal with it now. We're not doing that stuff anymore, I hope. Or you won't from now on, as much as you can avoid it. Instead, we're going to hold the attention on what's here physically, the sensory environment, and we hold the disturbance, which is part of our experience right now. So we're conscious and aware of being aware of what's happening. And we can look at it with our intelligent mind, not our emotional, unconscious, stupid one. The intelligent mind, what can I do about this? What is the problem? What's happened? And you might find as soon as you look at it like this, it's disappeared. I've had people say to me, Nick, it didn't work. The moment I looked at it to try to face it, it disappeared. I said, well, that was it then. You did it. The amount of emotion, disturbance, and how long it lasts and whether it comes back again after a while is purely dependent on how much energy or unconscious energy is invested in that particular situation. It might be looking at it and it dissolves immediately. Or it might take a while, a few minutes, an hour, a few hours. If it's a serious one, lots of emotion, lots of history. It could be even a few days where it keeps coming back in waves, back again, back again. But you'll find after doing this for a little while, however long, and the voice it's almost talking to you saying, you can't do this. What's the point? This isn't working. You can't hold this. And why would you want to anyway? It doesn't make any difference. You've never done it. Give up. Go on, give up. You can't do it anyway. If you ignore that voice, keep coming back, feeling like it might last forever, all of a sudden, it's gone. It's almost like with his last dying breath, it shouts out, it's almost, you can't do this, you can't beat me, and that moment, it's gone. And the people practicing it the first few times almost look inside and look around. What happened? I was so upset about that, so angry. But the emotion's gone. I don't feel upset or angry anymore. It's really strange. Like I said, it can come in waves if there's a lot of emotion invested in the situation. It isn't that you failed, it never comes back. It's another lump of energy attached to it, another lump. So you're always moving forward and clearing out the past, clearing out the emotion. And this is all relevant to the empathic bit, and honest, very. So the emotion, the buried, hidden emotion, is being made conscious all the time while you live consciously, while the emotion comes up and you experience it consciously. And to finish the little bit, as you're doing it, one of three things will happen. Either all of a sudden the emotion will disappear, as I've described. It's just not a problem. The situation's still the same, but you think, why was I annoyed about that? It doesn't bother me at all. Or you suddenly have an idea, oh, I know what I could do. I've been really worried about that. I only have to ask so-and-so to give me a hand because he's got the machinery, the trailer, the experience, the contacts. I give him a ring. Yeah, it's fixed. And the question is, why didn't that occur to me earlier? It's because it wasn't meant to. The emotion needed to be experienced in order to resolve and clear the emotional blockage. And while we're in the thinking process, we're locked in this situation, the emotional situation. And as within, so without. You want to be emotional, unhappy, angry? Life will give you something outside to be emotional, unhappy and angry about. This is your life, one consciousness, one being. You are responsible for the circumstances of your life. That's a big thing, isn't it? Anyway, so as you dissolve the emotion, you might see an answer, a solution, some action you can take. And if you're living consciously, even that might be a scary one, you know, I've got to do this. This is right. I've got to do this. So you go and do it. And the third solution, the possibility, is as you're dissolving the emotion, as you're dissolving it and doing your best to stay conscious, all of a sudden, before or after it's gone, the physical situation changes. What was going to happen is now not going to happen. It's all a mistake, it's cancelled, it's called off, there's other plans. What you're worried about, it resolved itself. Physically, the outside situation has now changed without you doing anything but dissolving the emotion. Because as within, so without. They're one and the same. The outer is a reflection of the energetic energy within yourself. They are one and the same energy, and the outer reflects the inner. It seems like it's the other way round, but it starts with you inside. The outer is your own reflection, your own mirror. So as you dissolve the emotion inside, the outside situation will change. Right, so back to the empathic stuff. And I've got so many videos about this, some are books and everything else. So yes, and feel free to ask questions as well, but it's all there. And the basics of this I've even got on the books page on the website, nickroach.uk/books. I've got a free PDF you can download explaining this as well, and doing it in different situations. Anyway, so here I am with this lady of 9 years, for 9 years, and straight away finding the emotions very difficult, finding her moods difficult. When she's in a good mood, I'll be so happy, lovely, wonderful, and then the mood would change, crash, comes crashing down on me. I could feel the mood, the heaviness, it was horrible. And I'm not an angry person, so it upset me. Even though for her it might have been anger, for me it was feeling upset and quite distressed. And I'd already been doing this for 2 or 3 years, the dissolving the emotion, and I wondered to myself, how can you dissolve the emotion when it's coming from somebody else? And that's the point. No matter how much I'm conscious, how much I'm facing and dissolving the emotion that comes up in me, if it's her emotion, what good am I doing facing this emotion that's coming from her? And that's the point I'm getting to. And this is the magic trick that I want anyone who's empathic to try to get their head around. Because I've already told you, the outer is a reflection of the inner. When we as empaths feel somebody else's emotion, we're not really. They are reflecting back to us some of our buried, unresolved unhappiness, ignorance, emotion within our unconscious, within the psyche. They're acting as a mirror, reflecting it back to us, as surely as had we suffered the physical situation just as they had to make them feel unhappy, let's say, we're experiencing it too. But we're experiencing it in ourselves, our own emotion, not theirs. Yes, they are feeling that, and yes, we are feeling it too as a reaction to them, but what we're feeling is our own emotion, not theirs. And what I found over the months, and every 6 months or so I'd be reminded to look again and see how I'd changed, how this was affecting me still. And if it was time to leave, the relationship was very difficult. Being an empath with someone whose moods are like this, and we split up 3 times in the first year. I just could not cope with her moods. It hurt me. But something inside kept saying, Nick, you've got to go back. You're not finished yet. You've got more to learn here. And what I'm sharing with you now is what I learned. So every 6 months or so, I would look consciously at the situation. Life, is it time to leave yet? I can't handle this. And I'd know it's not time to leave, but I would see how her moods are affecting me less and less. I started to see after a while, be a bit detached. When she was happy, I didn't get absorbed into it. And it occurred to me, don't get too involved. It'll change. She's happy now. In a moment she won't be. And then the next moment she'll be unhappy and angry. And I'm out of it a bit. And I'll think to myself, don't worry, it'll change. It doesn't last. And then the next moment she'd be up again. I'll go, don't worry. And bit by bit, although her moods didn't change, her moods kept going up and down as it always had done, but for me, they were affecting me less and less and less and less. Till eventually, what was left is just an intuitive knowledge as to what she or somebody else, the feeling in them, but not me feeling what they're feeling. Just a knowledge, a psychic impression, and just an imprint of that person. Just get a sense. But without having to feel their emotion. Why? As I've explained, because I can see their situation and how they are, but their emotion comes to me, but I haven't got enough emotion, enough unconsciousness in me to react to it. So it just comes to me and I just see it as what it is. So I can be understanding, sympathetic, and if someone we know or don't know, someone in a situation, we're able to help them, give them emotional support, we do that, myself and my partner, and because she's doing the same thing. We can do that from a position of strength, because we're not emotionally involved anymore. We can want to help sincerely. I mean, we don't know anybody who wants to dissolve and be conscious of their own emotions, so we have to allow the situation to be what it is. But we can be supportive, helpful. We can often look at practical solutions that they're so emotional they can't see. And of course, from my perspective, if someone in my vicinity is unhappy, to me, that's part of the environment of my life. And this is my reflection. So I do look at it and be conscious and see how can I resolve this situation as much as I can. So being around emotional people doesn't become a difficult thing to do. I no longer feel, generally, the moods and emotions of others. Now you might think, if you're an empath, that means I've lost something, and if you're considering for yourself, you wouldn't want to lose it, and that's your right, because this is your life. I personally didn't want to feel unhappy anymore. As a teenager, suicidal really, had enough. I couldn't believe everybody was accepting being unhappy as being normal, natural. So what's wrong with everybody? Why does everyone accept and think it's okay to be unhappy? It's not okay to be unhappy. Not for me. I was not going to accept it anymore. And I don't. But there are people, a lot of people, I would say the majority, but I haven't spoken to everybody, so take that as you will, perfectly happy being emotional, having emotional ups and downs, being happy today, unhappy tomorrow. They're quite happy with that. So I'm not putting this on them or you if you're happy with it too. This video is people who are empathic and struggling with the emotions of people around them. If you don't want that, then just learn to be conscious. Learn to be connected with the sensory environment, with your own sense of being inside you, the breathing, the physical environment, and feel the emotion, and do that in this conscious state. And the emotion cannot survive in consciousness if you take it to be a living entity. Actually, you could say it's crying out to be made conscious, depending on your perspective. But either way, it is unconscious, which is why you can feel it in the conscious mind. It's a disturbance when you are conscious. It's still there because it's unconscious. And as you hold it, it dissolves, it becomes conscious, and then you are it and it is you, and there's no separation, there's nothing to feel anymore. It's just your own being. So this is very, very important. It's actually the key or the backbone for everything. Literally. That's another story. Thanks for listening. Feel free to subscribe, share the video, go to my website nickroach.uk. I said that there's a free PDF there, got lots more videos, and feel free to ask any questions. Thanks very much.